All right, Mike Kaye from the Charlotte Observer is in Houston. I assume he is not completely liquefied at this moment. Yesterday was apparently a sweltering day. He joins us on the Adam Gold Show. Was it as bad as all that?
I don't feel like I've stared into the Ark of the Covenant, but it was pretty. It was pretty rough. It was warm. I'll say that.
How did the players deal with it? I know there was one player who was taken off on a cart. They said that was heat related. I mean, it's hot here. I mean, they've been practicing. I know the last 2 weeks have been somewhat. I mean, really mild. Not somewhat. They've been very mild by North Carolina summers. But before that, it was gross in Spartanburg as well. So how have the players dealt with it?
We talked to Trevon Merrick after practice, and he's from around the area, and he said this was actually pretty comfortable for a Houston summer, I guess because it had rained recently. But Nick Scorton had to take a front seat cart ride in because even with the cooling trailer that they had there that the Panthers also have, he wasn't able to kind of like chill out. They think they'll be okay. But yeah, I mean, it was a hot practice, but they seem to be relatively unscathed. But Bryce Young heated up through the air, connecting with Xavier Legette and McMillan and some of his weapons for some pretty big highlight plays. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm interested to see how fatigued they are coming off of this practice heading into this preseason game.
No doubt about that. That definitely has a lingering effect. Mike Kaye, Charlotte Observer. You can follow him on Twitter at Mike_E_K with an E at the end. So let me ask you about Bryce, not just in the joint practices, but I sort of posited yesterday that, man, it's possible, based on the stuff that I have seen, that Bryce might be it looks to me like he's taking another pretty big step forward. He just looks so much more comfortable and assured going through everything he's got to go through. What have you seen from him through, 3.5, 4 weeks now?
I mean, I think he looks like he's in line with his wide receivers, like his tight ends. I mean, he made a play yesterday where he improvised while the pocket was being kind of smashed in front of him. Austin Corbett finally anchored at center, and he hit a tight end down the seam for what was like a 20 to 25-yard catch and run. Like, it just seems like he's flowing in this offense. He gets it, he knows it, and he's making the most of it.
Mike Kaye is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Isn't it funny how when you have like a whole bunch of good receiving targets, you seem like a much better quarterback?
Yeah, funny how that happens, right? I mean, I think from the standpoint of like the offense being improved over the last 2 years, I mean, there's no question, and I think he trusts his offense. I think he trusts his head coach, and I think, in turn, he's trusting the play calls.
Yeah, again, that's all of these things work hand in hand. I think retrospectively, we'll all remember just what he had to deal with as a rookie from a fractured coaching staff and too many differing ideas with how they wanted to run offense, a bad offensive line and no weapons. And we will go, you know what? Maybe it was unfair to judge anything based on that season, and certainly the beginning of year 2 wasn't great either, but he certainly looks like he came out on the other side. Some of the things that have raised some red flags for you would be what, Mike?
I mean, I think, the safety position, the inside linebacker position are not priority positions in this defense. Typically, unless you have a top 10 player at either position, that's the case. Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis and all those guys, they made the linebacker position a priority here over the years. But I think at this point, when you're stuck with Christian Roseboom and Trevin Wallace and then Nick Scott at safety, it's kind of tough to kind of wrap your mind around that. That's why I think, you have a surplus of talent on the offensive line. You have a surplus of talent at wide receiver. Maybe you use that surplus to kind of help you in other directions. But I think for the Panthers, they need to kind of figure out that back end because up the middle, they are kind of weak once you get past that first level.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of big time tacklers at the middle of the second level of defense. What is depth an issue for you as well?
Certainly not on offense. I think on defense, they're good on the defensive line. They have the second highest defensive line payroll in the league this year. They have the highest offensive line payroll in the league this year. Outside linebacker, they're fine. I really think Nick Scorton's going to be a player. Same with Princey Uman-Milan. They really like what Pat Jones brought to the lineup. DJ Wanham's having an okay summer. Corner, I think they feel really good about the two starters, and J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson's having a terrific camp here. And then Shaw Smith-Wade was probably the MVP of training camp before the preseason started. He's gotten a little bit quieter, but he's still having a good summer. And then, Corey Thornton's kind of been one of the talks of camp. He's an undrafted rookie who is basically, the way I explain him is if J.C. Horn was built in a lab, they just forgot to add the speed element. And so those four have played well. Shamar Bartholomew's played much better than anticipated. I think their corner room is actually a lot better than a lot of us projected, and you can see why they like that group better than we do. Safety, it just depends on how they're going to handle the starting group. If Nick Scott's out there and Damani Richardson and Lathan Ransom are the backups, fine. I just think, there's no way you keep Richardson and Ransom on the sideline for Nick Scott. Nick Scott has a role in this team. He is a very good leader. He's extremely well-liked. He's good on special teams. But he should be kind of like a cog in the machine and not necessarily, the hood emblem on a defense.
Mike Kaye, Charlotte Observer, covers the Panthers for that paper at Mike_E_K on Twitter. Two more things, and then we will let you go. I don't know what you're going to do, towel off. I'm not sure. But I asked this question of another friend of mine who basically covers the team, Will Palashik. I said, give me your three starters at wide receiver for game one against Jacksonville. Given everybody healthy, who are the three starters?
Tepper, McMillan, Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen.
All right. He said Jalen Coker over Xavier Legette.
Yeah. I think Coker needs to play, but I also say his best attribute is you could probably use him at slot, Z, and X. And so him being the primary backup to all three of those guys is advantageous. I think Legette's pretty much just a Z receiver. And he's having a good camp. I understand a lot of people are really high on the underdog story of Coker. He didn't really produce a lot in practice. Last training camp, he came back. This year has really gotten in tune with his body and the playbook. And had a breakout practice the other day after the preseason game. But I got to tell you, I don't think one guy has outplayed the other. I understand what the optics are, and I understand that people want to downplay Xavier Legette's rookie season. But if people remember, when Deontay Johnson was here at the extra receiver spot and the quarterback position was all in chaos, there was one guy who was actually producing pretty regularly, and that's Xavier Legette. Then once Damani Richardson was traded, he was moved to the X position and miscast as being the number one guy. I think he's better off as a number two wide receiver, and I think he and McMillan actually complement each other better than maybe I projected during the draft.
It's interesting. You mentioned Deontay Johnson. He's on his fourth team since then, isn't he?
Third. So it would be the timeline was he got traded to the Ravens. The Ravens cut him. Yeah. He went to the Texans. The Texans cut him. The Ravens picked him up again so that they could have his compensatory pick rights. Became a free agent, signed with the Browns. So technically, it's his fourth stop, but it's his 13th. Yes.
Okay, that's still a lot. That is still a lot. Mike Kaye, final thing as we get ready for after the joint practice, which CJ Stroud looked pretty good too, didn't he?
Yeah, I was mostly focused on the Panthers' offense and just the way the training camp is set up. They're two different fields and they're working at the same time, so they can get in a normal amount of reps. From what I saw, yeah, he hit his targets. they have a similar situation where they have about 7 or 8 rosterable wide receivers, and I think he does a really good job of spraying the ball around the field and spreading it. And that's going to be an interesting decision they have to make at their wide receiver position as well.
All right. Now, what you wrote about yesterday, the battle for the place-kicking job, Matthew Wright, Ryan Fitzgerald, how would you handicap that right now?
I mean, here's the thing. Like, Ryan Fitzgerald, from a politics standpoint, simply had to just compete with Matthew Wright, right? Like, it just had to be even. And I think Matthew Wright, who's an NFL nomad, who's been on more NFL teams than I've had coffees this morning, you know what I mean? Like, he's really held his own. Honestly, I think he's been a tad bit better. I mean, I gave him almost no shot of winning this job coming into the summer. He's really surprised me. I'm happy to be wrong because a longer kicker competition is more interesting. And I think the Panthers are handling this the mature way. They're letting it all play out. This is a big decision. You decided you didn't want to re-sign Eddie Pinheiro, who had been here for 3 years and had kicked relatively well from a percentage standpoint. And then you bring in a guy who, I mean, is the utter definition of a journeyman. Mm-hmm. To compete with a rookie who his senior year didn't miss a kick. So, like, it's an interesting battle. I don't think it's going to come down to like a missed field goal in the preseason. If a guy misses a bunch of field goals, then I think it'll be done. But like, I think you need to watch how the kickoffs are handled because that's become such an important factor with the touchback now being at the 35.
Yeah, I saw a breakdown of the Panthers like line drive low kick that lands in the field of play, which at that point, teams you're like the kickoff coverage team can then break the line of scrimmage. So there's a lot of strategy involved in that. And a couple of years ago we had punter battles. Now we've got kicker battles. Kicker battles are always fun. Stay tuned to Mike Kaye on Twitter at Mike_E_K on Twitter. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, sir. We'll talk when it's cooler.
Thanks for having me.
You got it, Mike Kaye, here on the Adam Gold Show.